Chapter 5. Madame de Plougastel. The postilion pulled the reins. The footman opened the door, lowering the steps and offering his arm to assist his mistress, just as she had requested. Then he opened one wing of the iron gates and held it for her. She was a woman in her early 40s who had clearly been stunning in her youth and remained exceptionally beautiful, possessing that refined elegance that age brings to certain women. Her dress and posture both radiated high aristocratic rank.
"I will leave you here, since you have a visitor,"
André-Louis said.
"But it is an old acquaintance of yours, André. Do you remember Madame la Comtesse de Plougastel?"
He looked at the approaching lady, whom Aline was now hurrying to meet. Because she had been named, he recognized her. He realized that had he simply looked, he would have recognized her anywhere without a prompt, even though 16 years had passed since he last saw her. The sight of her brought it all back, a treasured memory that subsequent events had never managed to erase. When he was 10 years old, just before being sent to school at Rennes, she had visited his godfather, her cousin. At that time, Rabelais had taken him to the manor of Gavrillac, where he was introduced to Madame de Plougastel, the great lady, in the full glory of her youthful beauty, with her gentle, cultured voice. Cultured, it sounded like a foreign language to the little Breton boy, and her majestic worldly air had intimidated him at first. But she gently calmed his fears and, through some mysterious charm, completely won his heart. He remembered his initial terror when told to hug her, and his reluctance to leave those soft, warm arms. He also remembered her sweet scent, a lilac perfume, for memory clings tightly to such details. During her 3 days at Gavrillac, he visited the manor daily, spending hours with her. A childless woman with strong maternal instincts, she had warmly embraced this precociously smart, wide-eyed boy.
"Give him to me, Cousin Quentin."
He remembered her asking his godfather on her final day.
"Let me take him back to Versailles as my adopted child."
But the seigneur had silently and gravely shaken his head, closing the matter. And then, when she said goodbye to him, the memory flooded back now. There had been tears in her eyes.
"Think of me sometimes, André-Louis,"
were her last words. He remembered how flattered he had felt to win this great lady's affection so quickly. It gave him a sense of importance that lasted for months before finally fading into oblivion. But now, seeing her again after 16 years, it all came back vividly. She had profoundly changed and matured. The young girl from his past was now a worldly woman with an air of calm dignity and complete self-possession. Yet he remained certain he would have known her anywhere. Aline hugged her affectionately. Then, noticing the Countess raising her eyebrows slightly at Aline's companion, she explained.
"This is André-Louis."
Aline said.
"Do you remember André-Louis, madam?"
Madame stopped. André-Louis watched surprise wash over her face, draining her color and leaving her breathless for a moment. Then her voice, that familiar, rich, musical voice, now even deeper and richer than before, repeated his name.
"André-Louis."
The way she said it suggested a rush of memories, perhaps of the lost youth tied to his name. She paused for a long time, looking at him wide-eyed as he bowed before her.
"But of course I remember him,"
she finally said, stepping forward and extending her hand. He kissed it dutifully, submissively, and instinctively.
"And this is what you have grown into."
She studied him, and he flushed with pride at the satisfaction in her tone. He felt like he had traveled back 16 years, once again the little Breton boy at Gavrillac. She turned to Aline.
"How wrong Quentin was in his assumptions. He was pleased to see him again, wasn't he?" "So pleased, madam, that he showed me the door."
André-Louis replied.
"Ah."
She frowned, still studying him with her dark, thoughtful eyes.
"We must change that, Aline. He is naturally very angry with you, but that is no way to win people over. I will plead your case, André-Louis. I am a good advocate."
He thanked her and prepared to leave.
"I leave my case in your hands with deep gratitude. My respects, madam."
And so, Despite his godfather's hostile reception, André-Louis hummed a tune as his yellow carriage rushed him back to Paris and the Rue du Hazard. The meeting with Madame de Plougastel had lifted his spirits. Her promise to champion his cause alongside Aline reassured him that everything would work out. He was proven right the following Thursday around noon, when Monsieur de Kercadia barged into his academy. Gilles, the boy, brought the news. André-Louis immediately stopped his fencing lesson, pulled off his mask, went down to the modest salon, still wearing his chamois waistcoat buttoned to the chin and carrying his foil under his arm, where his godfather was waiting. The red-faced lord of Gavrillac stood defensively to receive him.
I have been persuaded to forgive you,
He announced aggressively, making it sound like he only agreed to stop the annoying pleading. André-Louis wasn't fooled. He recognized the seigneur's act, designed to let him back down without losing face.
Bless those who persuaded you, whoever they were. You give me back my happiness, Monsieur my godfather.
He took the offered hand and kissed it, acting on the deep-rooted habits of his childhood. It was a symbolic gesture of complete submission, restoring the bond of protector and protected between them, along with all its mutual duties. No words could have better made peace with this man who loved him. Monsieur de Kercadia's face turned a deeper shade of pink. His lip trembled, and his voice grew husky as he muttered.
My dear boy.
Then he caught himself, tossed his large head back, and frowned. His voice returned to its usual high pitch.
I hope you realize you have behaved terribly, and with complete ingratitude? Doesn't that depend on your point of view?
André-Louis asked, deliberately keeping his tone soothing.
It depends on facts, not points of view. Since I have been convinced to overlook it, I hope you intend to change your ways. I will stay out of politics,
André-Louis said, offering the most truthful compromise he could.
That is something, at least.
His godfather allowed himself to calm down, now that a concession, or at least the appearance of one, had smoothed his ruffled feathers.
Please take a chair, monsieur. No. I am taking you with me to pay a visit. You owe my forgiveness entirely to Madame de Plougastel. I want you to come with me and thank her. I have my classes here.
André-Louis began, then stopped.
It doesn't matter. I will arrange things. Just a moment.
He turned to head back into the academy.
What classes? You aren't by any chance a fencing instructor?
Monsieur de Kercadia had noticed the leather waistcoat and the foil tucked under his arm.
I am the master of this academy, the academy of the late Bertrand de Amos, the most successful school of arms in Paris today.
Monsieur de Kercadia raised his eyebrows.
And you are the master? Maître en fait d'armes. I took over the academy after de Amos died.
He left Monsieur de Kercadia to process the news and went to make his arrangements and change his clothes.
So that is why you have started wearing a sword,
Monsieur de Kercadia remarked as they climbed into his waiting carriage.
That, and the need to defend oneself these days. Are you telling me that a man earning his living in an honorable profession, supported mainly by the nobility, can also associate with those cheap lawyers and low-class writers stirring up trouble and rebellion? You forget that I am a cheap lawyer myself, thanks to your own wishes, monsieur.
Monsieur de Kercadia grunted and took a pinch of snuff.
You say the academy is successful.
He asked after a moment.
It is. I have 2 assistant instructors, and I could use a 3rd. It is hard work. That must mean you are quite well off. I have reason to be satisfied. I earn much more than I need. Then you will be able to do your part in paying off this national debt.
The nobleman grumbled, clearly pleased by the idea that the trouble André-Louis helped start would now cost him money. Then the conversation shifted to Madame de Plougastel. André-Louis gathered that Monsieur de Kercadia strongly disapproved of this visit, though he didn't explain why. But the Countess was a strong-willed woman nobody could refuse, someone the whole world obeyed. Monsieur de Plougastel was currently in Germany, but would be returning soon. This careless slip made it easy to guess that Monsieur de Plougastel was one of the secret messengers traveling between the Queen of France and her brother, the Emperor of Austria. The carriage pulled up to a beautiful town house in the Faubourg Saint-Denis, at the corner of the Rue Paradis. A slick servant led them into a small, elegant sitting room filled with gold and silk. It opened onto a terrace overlooking a miniature park. Madame was waiting for them there. She stood, dismissed the young woman reading to her, and came forward with both hands outstretched to greet her cousin Circadia.
I was almost afraid you wouldn't keep your promise,
she said.
I was wrong, but I really didn't expect you to succeed in bringing him.
Smiling warmly, she gestured toward André-Louis. The young man replied with polite charm.
My memory of you, madame, is too deeply engraved in my heart for any persuasion to be necessary. Ah, the charmer,
she said, giving him her hand.
We need to have a little talk, André-Louis,
she told him, with a seriousness that made him slightly uncomfortable. They sat down, and for a while, the conversation stayed on general topics, mostly focusing on André-Louis, his work, and his opinions. All the while, Madame watched him closely with those gentle, thoughtful eyes, until that sense of unease crept over him again. He instinctively knew he had been brought here for a deeper reason than the one they claimed. Finally, as if it had been planned, and the clumsy Lord of Gavrillac was terrible at hiding his intentions, his godfather stood up. Using the excuse of wanting to see the garden, he strolled out through the windows onto the terrace, where red geraniums spilled wildly over the white stone railing. From there, he disappeared into the greenery below.
Now we can talk more freely,
Madame said.
Come here and sit next to me.
She pointed to the empty space on her sofa. André-Louis obeyed, though he felt a bit awkward.
You know,
she said softly, resting a hand on his arm,
that you have behaved very badly, that your godfather has every right to be angry? Madam, if I truly believed that, I would be the saddest, most desperate man alive.
He then explained himself, just as he had done to his godfather on Sunday.
What I did because it was the only way possible in a country where privilege blocks justice. I had to fight a despicable monster who murdered my best friend. A cruel, senseless murder the law refused to punish. And as if that wasn't enough, please forgive my bluntness, madam. He later ruined the woman I was supposed to marry. Ah, my God!
She cried out.
Forgive me. I know it sounds awful. Perhaps you understand now what I went through and what drove me. That last incident I am blamed for, the riot starting in the Feydeau Theater and spreading across Nantes, was caused by this. Who was this girl?
It figures a woman would focus on the minor details, he thought.
Oh, an actress. A foolish girl I don't miss at all. Her name was La Binet. I was acting in her father's troupe at the time. This was after the trouble in Rennes, when I had to hide from the kind of justice France offers, the hangman's justice for commoners. This final insult pushed me to start a riot in the theater. Poor boy,
she said gently.
Only a woman's heart can truly understand your suffering. That is why I can so easily forgive you. But you don't understand, madam. If I believed today that I only helped destroy privilege for personal reasons, I think I would kill myself. My real justification is the hypocrisy of those who plan to make the States General a sham, just a trick to deceive the nation. Wasn't it perhaps wise to use trickery in such a situation?
He stared at her in disbelief.
Can it ever be wise, madam, to be insincere? Oh, it certainly can. Trust me, I am twice your age and I know how the world works. I would argue, madam, that nothing complicating life can be wise, and nothing complicates it more than insincerity. Just look at the mess this has caused. But surely, André-Louis, your views haven't become so twisted that you deny a country needs a ruling class? Of course it does, but it doesn't have to be a hereditary one. What else could it be?
He gave her a quick, sharp answer.
A person, madam, is the product of their own actions. Let rights only be inherited from such achievements. That way, a nation's best people will always lead, and that nation will achieve greatness. So you think birth doesn't matter? Not at all, madam, otherwise my own origins might bother me.
Seeing her face flush deeply, he worried his bluntness had offended her. But the scolding he expected never came. Instead,
And it doesn't?
she asked.
Never, André? Never, madam. I am perfectly content. You have never regretted not having parents to care for you?
He laughed, brushing off her sweet, unnecessary pity.
On the contrary, madam, it terrifies me to imagine what they might have turned me into. I am thankful I got to shape myself.
She looked at him sadly for a moment, then smiled and gently shook her head.
You certainly don't lack self-confidence. Still, I wish you saw things differently, André. This is a time of incredible opportunity for a talented, spirited young man. I could help you. I could help you go very far if you would let me help you my way. Right?
He thought.
Help me get hanged by sending me on treasonous missions to Austria for the Queen, just like Monsieur de Plougastel. That would certainly secure me a high position on the gallows.
Out loud, he answered with polite restraint.
I appreciate it, madam, but surely you see that, holding the ideals I do, I could never serve a cause trying to destroy them. You are blinded by prejudice, André-Louis, and by personal grudges. Will you really let them ruin your future? If what I call ideals were just prejudices, would it be honest to act against them while still believing in them? If only I could show you that you are wrong. I could help you find a worthy purpose for your talents. In the king's service, you would rise quickly. Please think about it, André-Louis, and let's discuss it again later.
He answered her with cool, formal politeness.
I am afraid that would be pointless, madam. Still, your interest in me is very flattering, and I thank you. It is just my bad luck that I am so stubborn. And who is being insincere now?
She asked him.
But you see, madam, my insincerity isn't meant to deceive.
Just then, Monsieur de Circadia stepped back through the window. He fussily announced that he needed to return to Meudon and would drop his godson off at the Rue du Hazard on the way.
You must bring him back soon, Quentin.
The Countess said as they said their goodbyes.
Perhaps someday.
Monsieur de Circadia replied vaguely, sweeping his godson out the door. In the carriage, he bluntly asked what Madame had discussed.
She was very kind, a sweet woman.
André-Louis said thoughtfully.
Devil take you, I didn't ask for your opinion of her. I asked what she said to you. She tried to show me the error of my ways. She talked about the great things I could achieve with her kind help if I came to my senses. But since miracles are rare, I didn't give her much hope. I see. Did she say anything else?
His tone was so demanding that André-Louis turned to look at him.
What else did you expect her to say, Monsieur my godfather? Oh, nothing. Then she met your expectations. What? Oh, 1,000 devils, why can't you just talk normally so a plain man can understand you without solving a puzzle?
He sulked for most of the ride back to the Rue du Hazard, or at least that's how it seemed to André-Louis. He sat in silence, looking dark and brooding.
You can come visit us again at Meudon soon,
he told André-Louis as they parted.
But please remember, no revolutionary politics next time, if we want to stay friends.
Chapter 6. Politicians. One morning in August, the academy on the Rue du Hazard was visited by Le Chapelier. He was accompanied by a remarkably striking man. His enormous height and scarred face seemed vaguely familiar to André-Louis. He was a little over 30 years old, with small bright eyes buried in a massive face. His cheekbones were prominent, and his nose was crooked, as if it had been broken by a punch. Another injury had left his mouth almost shapeless, from a time when a bull had gored him in the face during his youth. To make his appearance even more intimidating, his cheeks were heavily pitted with smallpox scars. He dressed untidily in a long scarlet coat that fell almost to his ankles, paired with stained buckskin breeches and boots with turned-down tops. His less-than-clean shirt was open at the throat, with a limp collar falling over an untied cravat. This exposed a muscular neck that rose like a pillar from his broad shoulders. In his left hand, he swung a cane thick enough to be a club, and his beige, cone-shaped hat featured a revolutionary cockade. He carried himself with an aggressive, dominant attitude, throwing his large head back as if he were constantly challenging the world. Le Chapelier, who looked very serious, introduced him to André-Louis.
This is Monsieur Danton. He is a fellow lawyer and president of the Cordeliers, whom you have probably heard of.
Of course, André-Louis had heard of him. By that point, everyone had. Looking at him closely, André-Louis wondered why almost all the leading revolutionaries had smallpox scars. Mirabeau, the journalist Desmoulins, the philanthropist Marat, the small-town lawyer Robespierre from Arras, this intimidating man Danton. Several others all carried the marks of the disease. He almost began to wonder if there was some connection between the two. Did a bout of smallpox produce some psychological change that showed itself in revolutionary politics? He brushed aside this pointless thought. Or rather, it was shattered by the shocking, thunderous roar of Danton's voice.
This damn Chapelier has told me about you. He claims you are a patriotic bastard.
André-Louis was less surprised by the man's tone than by the foul language this giant freely used in his very first sentence to a complete stranger. He burst out laughing. There was nothing else he could do.
If he told you that, he told you a bit more than the truth. I am a patriot. Modesty forces me to deny the rest. You are a joker too, it seems.
The other man roared, but he laughed anyway. The sheer volume of his laughter rattled the windows.
I mean, no offense. That is just how I am. What a pity,
André-Louis said. This response caught the king of the markets off guard.
What is this, Chapelier? Is your friend here putting on airs?
The neat Breton lawyer looked like a perfect gentleman compared to his companion. However, his direct manner was just as brutal as Danton's, even without the crude language. He shrugged as he answered.
He simply does not like your manners, which is not surprising at all. They are terrible. Oh, nonsense. You damn Bretons are all the same. Let us get down to business. Have you heard what happened in the assembly yesterday? You have not? Good God. Where do you live? Have you heard that this scoundrel who calls himself the King of France recently allowed Austrian troops to cross French soil? They are on their way to crush the people fighting for freedom in Belgium. Have you heard that by any chance? Yes,
André-Louis said coldly. He hid his annoyance at the man's bullying tone.
I have heard that. Oh, and what do you think of it?
The giant loomed over him with his hands on his hips. André-Louis turned away to look at Le Chapelier.
I do not think I understand. Did you bring this gentleman here to interrogate my political beliefs? In the name of God, he is as prickly as a damn porcupine.
Danton complained.
No.
Le Chapelier tried to calm things down, acting as a buffer against his irritating friend.
We need your help, André. Danton here thinks you are exactly the man we need. Listen now. That is right. You tell him.
Danton agreed.
You both speak the same delicate kind of French. He will probably understand you.
Le Chapelier ignored the interruption and continued.
The king has clearly violated the rights of a country trying to build a free constitution. This action has destroyed any generous illusions we still held. Some people even go so far as to call the king the sworn enemy of France. But that is an extreme view, of course. Who says so?
Danton flared up. He swore aggressively to show his complete disagreement. Le Chapelier waved a hand to quiet him and went on.
In any case, this incident was more than enough to stir up the assembly again, on top of everything else. It is open war between the Third Estate and the privileged class. Has it ever been anything else? Perhaps not, but it has taken on a new form. You must have heard about the duel between Lameth and the Duc de Castries? A minor incident. The results were minor, but it could have been much worse. Now Mirabeau is challenged and insulted at every single meeting. But he just keeps going, staying perfectly cool and wise. Others are not so careful. They answer insults with more insults, and blows with blows. Blood is being spilled in private duels. These noble swordsmen have turned the whole thing into an organized system.
André-Louis nodded. He was thinking of Philippe de Vilmorin.
Yes,
He said,
it is an old trick of theirs. It is very simple and direct, just like they are. I am only surprised they did not think of this system earlier. It might have worked better back in the early days of the States General at Versailles. Now it is a bit too late. But they are trying to make up for lost time. Damn it.
Danton shouted.
These noble bullies are throwing challenges left and right. They are challenging poor lawyers who have never fought with anything sharper than a quill pen. It is just damn murder. But if I went among those noble gentlemen and smashed a few empty heads with this stick of mine, or snapped a few aristocratic necks with these fingers God gave me, the law would hang me. And this is in a country fighting for freedom. Damn it all. I am not even allowed to keep my hat on in the theater. But those bastards can get away with murder. He is right.
Le Chapelier said.
The situation has become impossible to tolerate. 2 days ago, Monsieur d'Ambly threatened Mirabeau with his cane right in front of the whole assembly. Yesterday, Monsieur de Faucigny jumped up and gave a speech urging his fellow nobles to commit murder. He actually asked why they did not just attack us scoundrels with swords in hand. Those were his exact words. It is certainly much simpler than passing laws.
André-Louis noted.
Lagron, the representative from Encinus in the Loire, shouted an answer that we could not quite hear. As he was leaving the riding school where we meet, one of those bullies grossly insulted him. Lagron merely used his elbow to push past the man. The fellow immediately yelled that he had been struck and issued a challenge. They fought early this morning in the Champs-Élysées. Lagron was killed. He was deliberately run through the stomach by a man who fought like a professional fencing master. Poor Lagron did not even own a sword. He had to borrow one just to show up for the duel.
André-Louis clenched his hands and set his jaw. His mind was constantly on Vilmorin, and this exact scenario was happening all over again, down to the last detail. A wave of intense anger swept over him. Danton's small eyes watched him closely.
Well, and what do you think of that? Nobility has its obligations, right? The point is, we need to oblige those bastards right back. We have to pay them back in their own currency and fight them with their own weapons. We need to wipe them out and throw those murderers into the abyss using the exact same methods. But how? How? For God's sake, did I not just say it? That is exactly where we need your help.
Le Chapelier added.
There must be some very patriotic men among your best students. Monsieur Danton believes that a small group of them, maybe a half-dozen led by you, could teach these bullies a harsh lesson.
André-Louis frowned.
And exactly how did Monsieur Danton think this could be done?
Monsieur Danton answered for himself with intense passion.
Like this. We station you at the riding school right when the assembly finishes for the day. We point out the 6 worst bloodletters, and we let you loose to insult them before they can insult any of our representatives. Then, the next morning, we have 6 damn bloodletters professionally bled dry themselves. That will give the rest of them something to think about. It will give them a hell of a lot to think about. If necessary, we can repeat the dose until they are fully cured. If you kill the bastards, all the better.
He paused, his pale face flushed with the excitement of his own plan. André-Louis stared at him with an unreadable expression.
Well, what do you say to that? I say it is highly creative.
André-Louis turned away to look out the window.
And is that all you think about it? I will not tell you my other thoughts because you probably would not understand them. For you, Monsieur Danton, I can at least make the excuse that you do not know me. But you, Isaac, to bring this man here with such a proposal.
Le Chapelier was overwhelmed with embarrassment.
I admit I hesitated,
He apologized.
but Monsieur Danton would not take my word that this idea might not suit your tastes. I certainly would not.
Danton shouted, interrupting him. He turned on Le Chapelier, waving his massive arms.
You told me this gentleman was a patriot. True patriotism has no moral limits. You call this delicate dancing master a patriot? Monsieur, would your patriotism make you agree to become an assassin? Of course it would. Have I not already told you? Have I not said I would gladly go among them with my club and crush them like fleas? Then why not do it? Why not? Because I would get myself hanged. Have I not said that too? But what about being a patriot? If you truly believe your country would benefit from your death, why not jump into the abyss like a sacrificial hero?
Monsieur Danton looked incredibly frustrated.
Because my country will benefit much more if I stay alive. Please allow me, monsieur, to suffer from the same kind of vanity. You? But where would the danger be for you? You would do your work disguised as a legal duel exactly like they do. Have you considered, monsieur, that the law will hardly treat a professional fencing master who kills his opponent as a regular duelist? Especially if it can be proven that the fencing master provoked the fight on purpose? Oh, in the name of God!
Monsieur Danton puffed out his cheeks and spoke with complete contempt.
So it all comes down to this. You are afraid. You can think that if you want. You can believe I am afraid to do something sneaky and treacherous, even though a bragging patriot like yourself is afraid to do it openly and honestly. I have my own reasons, but that one should be enough for you.
Danton gasped. Then he cursed more creatively and intensely than ever before.
By God, you are right.
He admitted, to André-Louis's total surprise.
You are right and I am wrong. I am just as bad a patriot as you are. I am a coward on top of it.
He called upon the entire heavens to witness his self-criticism.
Only, you see, my life actually counts for something. If they catch me and hang me, well, that is a huge loss. Monsieur, we simply must find another way. Please forgive the intrusion. Goodbye.
He held out his massive hand. Le Chapelier stood there hesitating, looking defeated.
You understand, André? I am sorry that... Please do not say another word. Come and see me again soon. I would ask you to stay, but it is striking 9 o'clock, and my first student is about to arrive. I would not allow it anyway.
Danton said.
Together, we have to figure out the puzzle of how to wipe out the Marquis de la Tour d'Azyr and his friends. Who?
The question cracked like a pistol shot just as Danton was turning to leave. The sharp tone stopped him in his tracks. He turned back around, and Le Chapelier turned with him.
I said the Marquis de la Tour d'Azyr. What does he have to do with the proposal you just made to me? Him? Why, he is the head bloodletter of them all.
Le Chapelier added quietly.
He is the one who killed Lagron. He is not a friend of yours, is he?
Danton wondered.
And it is La Tour d'Azyr you want me to kill?
André-Louis asked very slowly. He spoke like a man who was deeply considering the idea in his mind.
That is exactly right,
Danton said.
And I can assure you, it is not a job for a beginner. But this changes things,
André-Louis said, thinking out loud.
This is a very great temptation. Well then?
The giant took a step toward him again.
Wait.
André-Louis held up his hand. With his chin resting on his chest, he paced over to the window, lost in thought. Le Chapelier and Danton exchanged looks and then watched him, waiting while he thought it over. At first, he almost wondered why he had not already thought of a plan like this to settle his long-standing score with the Marquis de la Tour d'Azyr. What was the point of acquiring all this incredible fencing skill if he could not use it to avenge Vilmorin and keep Aline safe from her own ambitions? It would be so easy to find La Tour d'Azyr, insult him fatally, and force a duel. Today, it would be murder, just as treacherous as when La Tour d'Azyr had killed Philippe de Vilmorin. The tables were turned now, and André-Louis could go to a duel without any doubt about who would win. He dismissed that moral obstacle very quickly, but there was still the legal problem he had just explained to Danton. The law still existed in France. It was the same law that had protected La Tour d'Azur from him. It would move quickly to punish André-Louis if he did the same thing. Then, suddenly, as if struck by inspiration, he saw the perfect solution. It was a plan that would bring La Tour d'Azur to perfect poetic justice. It would force the arrogant man to throw himself on André-Louis's sword, with all the blame for the fight falling entirely on the Marquis himself. He turned back to them, and they saw that he was very pale, and his large dark eyes were glowing with a strange intensity.
There will probably be some trouble finding a replacement for this poor Lagron,
He said.
Our fellow countrymen will not be very eager to offer themselves up to the swords of the privileged nobles. That is true enough,
Le Chapelier said gloomily. Then, as if he suddenly understood what André-Louis was thinking, he cried out.
André, would you? It is exactly what I was considering. It would give me a legitimate seat in the assembly. If your men like La Tour d'Azur choose to come after me then, well, their blood will be on their own hands. I will certainly not do anything to stop them.
He smiled a strange, curious smile.
I am just a rascal trying to be honest. I am always Scaramouche, a creature of clever arguments. Do you think the people of Ancinous would accept me as their representative? Will they accept Omnes Omnibus as their representative?
Le Chapelier laughed, his face lighting up with excitement.
Ancinous will be overwhelmed with pride. It is not a major city like Rennes or Nantes, as you could have had if you wanted, but it gives you a voice for all of Brittany. I suppose I would have to travel to Ancinous. There is no need for that at all. A single letter from me to the local government, and they will confirm you immediately. You do not even have to leave this room. The whole thing can be finished in 2 weeks at the most. So, is it settled?
André-Louis thought for another moment. He had his academy to worry about, but he could arrange for Leduc and Galoche to run it for him while he directed them and offered advice. After all, Leduc had become a highly skilled fencing master, and he was a very reliable man. If they needed to, they could hire a third assistant.
Let it be so,
He finally said. Le Chapelier shook his hand warmly and began showering him with rapid congratulations, until the giant in the red coat at the door interrupted them.
What exactly does this mean for our actual plan?
He asked.
Does it mean that once you are a representative, you will have no moral issues with skewering the Marquis? If the Marquis offers himself up to be skewered, which I have no doubt he will, I see the distinction.
Monsieur Danton sneered.
You have a very clever mind.
He turned back to Le Chapelier.
What did you say he was before all this? A lawyer, right? Yes, I was a lawyer and after that a traveling actor. And this is the final result. As you say, but do you realize that you and I are not so different after all? What do you mean? Once, just like you, I went around trying to convince other people to kill the man I wanted dead. You will say I was a coward, of course.
Le Chapelier started to step between them as a dark look crossed the giant's face. But the anger quickly faded, and a booming laugh shook the long room once more.
You have managed to hit me twice, and in the exact same spot. Oh, you know how to fence with your words, my boy. We really should be friends. I live on the Rue de Cordeliers. Any scoundrel on the street can tell you where Danton stays. Desmoulins lives on the floor right below me. Come and visit us some evening. We always keep a bottle ready for a friend.